Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Inner Edge podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable high-performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore. Hi there, welcome to today's podcast, and I am being tested with this podcast. I think the universe always has a sense of humor, and certainly seems to have it today, because it might make more sense when I tell you today's subject is about falling in love with the process and not the outcome. This is my third attempt at recording this episode, so I've actually done it in full twice already. The software that I recorded on seems to be having a moment. And while I have engineers from the software trying to find the previous version, I just said, you know what, let's just go with this again. So this is my third time recording this, believe it or not. So I am being tested actually on the title of this particular episode, Fall in Love with the Process, Not the Outcome. Now, for a long time, if you'd asked me, Shane, are you in love with the process, not the outcome? I probably would have said, yeah, no, that's me, I do that. But it wouldn't have been the truth. Not that I was telling you a lie. It's just I didn't understand probably the level or the levels within that statement. For me, and I think I used to think about falling in love with the process meant, right, discipline, get clear on the actions, the habits, and let's make a process and let's be really diligent and disciplined no matter what, and stick with that process, and it would bring me to the outcome. And in some cases, that definitely was true. It did work. But then in other cases, it didn't. That's kind of what I want to explore with you today, is that there are layers to this. And it might be something that if you're finding that you're very disciplined in certain areas, but not getting the outcomes you want, there's probably something here in this episode for you. Now, I think a giveaway around this is how much genuine enjoyment you're having in your life and in your work, whether that's business or education or sports or whatever. In terms of how you spend your time, how much genuine enjoyment are you getting out of your day-to-day living? And is there much tension, or are you frustrated? Do you experience stress or anxiety? Because that's generally an indicator that you're not really in love with the process, that you're probably more attached to an outcome, perhaps not without realizing it. Certainly that's the way that I used to be. It was kind of an unconscious attachment to outcomes, even though I was very focused on the process. Now, there's a sporting phrase, I can't remember who said it, but it's certainly from American football, where it was a coach in the US who said, winning is everything. Now, it isn't. I mean, winning is brilliant. It's great. But the reality is you can't win everything. You can't win them all, no matter how good you are as an individual or a team. So even the best of the best will lose quite a bit. But it doesn't stop us striving for the best. Winning can be fun. But so can competing, so can the process. So if winning's the outcome, the process is playing. Now, what I find quite interesting is that in my own journey, what I've found is that the more I fall in love with the process, I tend to win more. I tend to be getting better results. Now, why? Why might that be the case? For me, I think it's probably to do with the fact that, if you're falling in love with the process and you're not as attached to the outcome, you're obviously playing to win, but you're not as attached to the outcome, which is an inner aspect, then you tend to be more at your best. If you're more at your best, then the probability of hitting the outcomes you want go up, but there's no guarantee. Now, what I've observed in sport over the recent years is that I'm hearing more and more managers and top coaches at an elite level talk about wanting their players or athletes to enjoy themselves more when they're competing. I think this is going to give you a little indication that they're seeing it too, because it's coming through in the research and it's changing the way that a lot of elite sports people are looking at their performances is that if you can find a way for the person or team to express themselves, enjoy themselves more, they will play to their ability. Whereas when tension comes in, or stress, which is now I'm more focused on perhaps losing or afraid to lose or I really want to win, I'm just more attached to the outcome. That brings in tension. Tension's the enemy in high performance. Now, if I change tack slightly, just to give you a different window, in the world of coaching, as in business, executive, personal coaching, one of the key aspects of getting really good results is being very good at conversations. And what I realized was that the more I fell in love with conversations in service to people, the better results would happen for the person. So very often for me, I'll go into my conversations with clients, whether that's individually or in a group, where I will have a clear intention as to a desired outcome. But I've learned over time not to be attached to the outcome. I'll still look at it in terms of it's good for my mind, it's good for focus, it's good for my energy, it's good for my state. But the more I focus on the process, as in being with the person genuinely, listening in a deep way, just loving the conversation and the time with that person or with those people, then the best results seem to come out. And often that's going to be an unexpected outcome, perhaps. Something might emerge very often that wasn't expected from them or from me. And usually it's the right thing, though, for them. Now, another angle, another example would be in my meditation practice. When I first kind of started to get into meditation, I really resisted it. I found it difficult, but I just persisted. And it definitely helped in terms of calming me down, giving a little bit more clarity. But then I realized one day that I was carrying frustration around my meditation practice. And when I kind of reflected on it, what I realized was I was really attached around this expectation of getting certain outcomes that, hang on, I'm doing this now 2 years. So I should be feeling this. I should be like this. I should be doing this more. I was attached to the outcome. I wasn't really in love with the process. The process was just a bit of hassle. And without realizing it, I was causing myself stress and tension. When I saw it for what it was, I was able to drop that expectation inside myself, that inner expectation. And I kind of just started to enjoy doing it for its own sake. And the more I did that, the more I started to look forward to it. And it was easier to commit to it. It wasn't a hassle. Whereas before, without realizing it, it had become this kind of hassle. And then if I wasn't doing it, I beat myself up for not doing it. And of course, what you probably would guess is that just for doing it for its own sake and enjoying it, well, then some of the benefits, more of the benefits started to arrive. It's just a much better process. And the outcomes came in, the expected outcomes probably came in without expecting them, if that makes any sense. Another angle is on this particular podcast. Today, as I said at the very start, I'm being tested on enjoying the process because I've done this twice already. This is third time lucky. This podcast is built on me enjoying the process. I enjoy the process of writing out kind of a broad framework for what I want to talk about. I'm enjoying just doing it, talking kind of to myself in the hope that people are listening, and people seem to be listening. Am I focused on an outcome? Do I have a desire to reach more people? Yes. But if I'm being honest, I'm really more focused on falling in love with the process. I will look occasionally at the metrics around the reach and things like that and the downloads. That's all important. That's why you'll often hear me asking for the likes and subscribes and shares. But what's more important to me is that I'm enjoying it. And that's why you'll often hear me entertaining myself by laughing at my own jokes. But if I'm not enjoying it, why would I bother doing it? That's my own attitude. And so far, so good. If that changes, well, then maybe we'll change the actions or we'll change even the podcast. Little quote that came across my desk over the last couple of days, synchronistically, because I was thinking about this particular episode over the last few days, was a quote by a gentleman called Alan Watts, who's no longer on the planet, but very interesting guy, very deep guy. And here's the quote that resonated with me. I think you'll like it. This is the real secret of life, to be completely engaged with what you're doing in the here and now. And instead of calling it work, realize it is play. Now, that to me, that quote is very much in line with what I'm talking about today. And he's saying it obviously, it's a big statement. The real secret of life is to be completely engaged with what you're doing in the here and now. And instead of calling it work, realize it's play. But that could be anything. It could be business, could be sport, could be your relationships, the people you're with. And it's very applicable there. So even when, with kids, your life partner, your family, your parents, your siblings, a lot of the time we can kind of get caught up with maybe expectations we have around people and getting annoyed or frustrated. And I wonder, even could you experiment with that and think about that and to actually maybe just fall in love with the process of just being with them today or for whatever amount of time, even just enjoying the process of living. We often forget there's the joy of that. So where might you be experiencing frustration? Maybe reflect on it a little. And if you can find something, I'm sure you can, just ask yourself, what story are you telling yourself? Because we are story making machines, and there's definitely a story that you're telling yourself. Well, they did this, or this is annoying me, or what's the frustration? And can you look at that? Again, any frustration is, you can drill it right back to a thought or thoughts of some form. And then can you let go of those thoughts or expectations on results? Let go of the expectation on outcomes. So where do you think, or where's coming up for you that you think you can fall more in love with the process? What in your day could you experiment here with this and just remove thinking about the outcomes for the moment? I'm not saying you don't have an intention to direct the compass, to direct your focus, but once that's set, that's fine. Can you then set it to one side and focus on really engaging and loving the process? Even think about the next hour after you've stopped listening to me rattling on. What are you going to do? Or what are you doing for the next hour? Maybe you're with somebody, maybe you have a meeting, maybe you're driving, maybe you're walking. Can you really engage with where you are? Going back to what Alan Watts said, to be completely engaged with what you're doing in the here and now and realize it's play. So to close it out, from my perspective anyway, when you focus on creating enjoyment more than results, you actually end up better in both. Food for thought. That's it for this week. Ciao for now.